Welcome to SVPod, brought to you in Peepaw Vision. I can't hear Steve.
I got you.
Oh, I can. I can't hear myself. Can't hear myself.
No?
Nope. Sure can't. But I guess it doesn't matter. If you can hear me, then that's all that matters. You can hear me?
The people need to hear you, first and foremost.
Yeah. Let me tell you, buddy. Let me tell you. I mean, shall we begin in the West Regional?
Yeah.
I don't even know I don't know how to start. I don't know how to start. First of all, I'm up with the kiddos, all right?
Yeah.
First half, not great. 37-30 Colorado State.
Mm-hmm.
Change up venues.
Oh.
I went outside. There's a TV outside where I am to be by myself. But somewhere
do you have the ball?
My good luck ball?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Just making sure. Because there's travel circumstances and I didn't know if the ball. Of course you did. Needed the ball.
I have a baseball that I just
from 1974.
Constantly just gripping and just it's a stress ball. Had the ball. I'm outside with my youngest. My youngest comes out and he's hanging with me. He is the coolest, most stoic. He's good. And I'm asking him. I said, "What do you think, bud?" He's like, "We're all right." I said, "Yeah?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you think they're going to win?" He goes, "Don't jinx it." Terps take a lead, 68-64. And he's like, "Dad, we just need a stop."
Yeah.
There were that.
Did you teach him how to slap the floor? It's a good deal. No,
it's Maryland, Steve, not Duke. Fast forward to Colorado State has it. They're down 2. They run a great play. And they get a look. They hit the 3. I'm like, I didn't cuss. I thought, this can't be how it ends again. And my guy was like, we're going to get, I missed the part where he's like, we're going to take this home. He gave us that. Now, Colorado State, down 1. At this point, my man says, "Dad, I don't think we're going to win." And I say, "Charlie, one of our mantras on this show, what do you have to do, Steve? Stay in the fight." I said, "You got to stay in the fight."
That's it.
Stay in the fight. I'm from Baltimore. Give me the motherfucking ball. That's what Derek Queen said. Willard's like, all right. Queen to the rack, bucket good. Absolute mayhem in our home. Mm-hmm. Mayhem. All the kids are up. Everyone's jumping around. Red he can't figure out what's happening. He's running around in circles. Never seen the big man this happy. It's just incredible. And for a tournament that mostly lacked that the shot that Colorado State hit to take the lead and then the bucket from Queen, like that's the tournament in a nutshell. And then we have the internet deciding that they hate everything. And what? In real time, that didn't even dawn on me that because I watch basketball and people can pretty much just run now. Gain of 4, first down. I didn't even think about it. Apparently, Sterator is like, no, it's a good play. But I saw Norlander like tweet out late night. Well, I talked to an official and he said that was a walk. Like, what? Okay, so that's what we're going to slow it down and decide when is the gather step and what. You want to slow it down? You want to show the defender hip check Queen off his spot? Then that's a foul. If we're gonna go rules McJohnny and Zapruder film this moment, you're saying it's a walk? Cool. There's a foul before the walk. And if you really want to go back, Nate Clifford, who I love, elbowed the absolute crap out of George Geronimo in the first half. And Steratore said, it might have been a flagrant 2, which means he'd have been ejected. At minimum, it's a flagrant 1, 2 free throws on the ball. That was 2 hours ago in the first half. But no one wants to do that. This is all I care to say about it. I didn't think it was a walk. I'm a Maryland guy, so people can roll their eyes at me. So every person on Twitter that he took 3 steps, bucket good, we'll see you in San Francisco. You tell me what you saw.
Scott's one of the biggest fails of my life. I didn't see a second of the game. I was flying.
Wow.
You want to talk about an absolute gut wrench. And I'm trying to do the math. And we're taking off at 6:40. I'm like, all right, 2-hour flight. Let's get this baby landed. We'll be there at least for the last 10 minutes. Right? You can fire up the app. Because the old United doesn't have strong enough streaming. So I literally have the ticker. I watched that game on this Gamecast. Like, Juju Reese, rebound. Rodney Rice, 3-point goal made. Like, that's how I watched the game. I want to go back to the biggest plays of the game for me were Juju making his free throws. Those were enormous.
So true.
Because what's the old saying?
Got to make your fouls.
You got to make your fouls. You know this is going to the end. You know Colorado State's going to have a chance. You know how good Nico is. You know what you put yourself into. So to me, when I'm sitting on, free. Juju Reese fouled. I'm like, here we go. All right, 2 more, and he goes 4 for 4. Those are enormous because I keep watching end of games and how, Florida, look what they put themselves in. St. John's, we'll get to them. So I'm just sitting there we're literally in the middle of landing. Ladies coming over, just seatbelt on, honey. I ain't got time for this. You can't even have internet. And it's frozen. It was 60-58. It was frozen forever. It was 63-58. It was frozen forever. All of a sudden, 68-64. I'm like, holy shit, they got the lead. All right, here we go. And then it's tied. And then I see that with 8 seconds. And I'm like, all right, who called timeout?
At which point?
After the Colorado State 3.
Maryland. They advanced the ball to midcourt. Quick timeout.
Do you like timeouts now?
Do I like timeouts?
You always say go. Go. You don't like the timeout.
I don't. I love playing with a just let the mayhem happen. But the mayhem in the Michigan State game was a broken floor, and Jacoby pulled because it was the first time Jacoby had a kind of a clean look that night, and he pulled, and then we all know what happened. Rebound, Trey Holloman, bucket. Clearly I like it today. They called a timeout, and Derek Queen said, give me the ball. And
you hate change, but that's good. That's good. It won you a game. I thought it was enormous. I didn't know what was going to happen because I see 7, then I see Maryland ball 3 seconds. I'm like, oh no, did they turn it over? Is the review? Whatever. You got to it was like I was in 1985 trying to watch this game.
When you see 72-71, when did you see that?
No, I'm.
You never did? We're landing.
No, yeah, we're about to land, and then all of a sudden the score stays. But I see on the bottom, Derek Queen makes jumper 0-0-0. I'm like, they won. I'm like looking around. We're flying to West Palm. There's not a person younger than 70 years old. So I can't even be like, hey, they won. Nobody was trying to fire up the apps. I was all by myself. And I'm just like, holy, but you have that sense because you didn't see it. I'm like, I got to triple check. Like, this is a review. It's a last second shot. Did Colorado State, are they putting time back on the clock? Like, it was torture, absolute torture. And, I never want to do that again. Oh, my God, it was awful. So I refrained from anything because I didn't see it. And then I go to meet Gordo to watch the night games, and he's like, you gotta figure out. So I forgot whoever it was online. Thank you. But screw off with the travel shit. Come on, people. And that's why the internet blows. So just take your win, enjoy it, enjoy the hell out of it. And I hope you did with the fam.
Yeah.
Because I got to imagine that household had a little lemon booty earlier in the day.
It was a tense day for the Van Pelt fam. I'll get back to the Florida piece in a minute. There was a lot in that, a lot baked into that. The Fanta, by the way, who we all love, John Fanta went on. Like, he's like, what are you talking about with this travel and blah, blah? He's like, don't want to hear it. So, yeah. I mean, that's just, I guess, where we live now. We're going to, again, but slow it down, fine. Call the foul before the walk if that's what you want to do. If that's really what you want to do. But I don't want to care to do any of it. Seeing San Francisco, the 1 against the 4. We asked Todd Golden last week on SportsCenter, what am I supposed to say? He gave an incredible answer. You know what? Actually, this is where I'm going to put Jack to work. I'm going to lay out and let Jack find the SportsCenter clip of me asking Todd Golden, what am I supposed to say to my children? You're the 1 seed, all right? My alma mater is the 4, okay? So my wife is a Gator, all right? My entire extended family are Gators. I told you before we started, I was surrounded last week when we were out in Colorado skiing, and I didn't get the big TV because they were all watching the Gators. That's fine. That's fine. I had this sinking feeling, Todd, that there was a possibility that if you guys win a couple, and if my alma mater wins a couple, it could be Florida and Maryland. And as a dad, I ask you this. What do I tell my children? Because they're going to need to make a choice, and choices have consequences. And I need to know as a dad what my message to my children is if this game comes to pass.
I think it's pretty simple. You know, I think you just explained to them how proud you are to be a Maryland alum and how great of a job Coach Willard's done to get his team into the Sweet 16, which is where we would match up.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're an amazing husband and you want to be there, be a great supportive wife and a great family man. And it's really important to see the Gators continue to grow and get back to the top of the mountain. So in this situation, you'd be totally okay with the Maryland loss if we're both fortunate enough to meet together, because you're really, really excited for your wife and how well the Gators are playing right now.
That was really well done. That was really well done. But that's absolutely not the proper way to go about it, Todd. It's going to be, listen, you can ride with mom if you want. But you know what? You're right. You're right. And listen, it'd be cool if it happened, because you should know that the little guy, his room's orange and blue, okay? There's a Gator flag on the wall. And they're going to ride with mom when push comes to shove, and you know what? They should. They should. That was a great answer from the Florida coach, by the way. It's complete bullshit because I'm going to make my children choose. You'll make a choice. Charlie, my youngest, said, I'm just going to go outside and wait till the game to end. They don't want to pick. I want one thing on I want to close the loop on this. Julian Reese, we talked about him on the show, a 4-year guy. You're not going to see that much anymore. I went over it last time. A Baltimore guy, stayed, wanted to graduate from Maryland. You're so right about the free throws. He could, for 2 years, he was a mid-50s free throw shooter.
I was going to say, he's not over 60, is he? Maybe 60 this year.
First year he was an 80% free throw shooter, and then he got this hitch in his swing. His shot 2 years in a row had a horrendous percentage. It was a weakness. Mid-70s this year. He made his fouls. Colorado State, Lake from Colorado State. Salute to Medved. Salute to that team. They were awesome. They've been awesome for a couple months, and it took what becomes like an all-time shot. When you make a shot like that, I mean, Derek's going to be in Maryland for a year, but they'll remember that forever. Now, if they get trucked by Florida, and they could, Florida might have just survived their game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it's house money, but I'm just saying that shot is something that just gets remembered forever. And then the whole "I'm from Baltimore, give me the MF and ball," like Baltimore's Jimmy Chitwood. It was. That's what the tournament is, and that's what this tournament largely has lacked. I'm so thrilled that my team tried to kill me, but thankfully did not.
Speaking of that, hand sweat, ache in the stomach, that had all the goods. You had to feel something you haven't felt in a long time, because the idea, and you're the best at it, but we also have our flaws of. It pays the same to be optimistic. The season with the losses it tests everything you have. And you're down at half. This team's on one. Yeah. Everybody's talking about we don't have the upset. Calipari, we'll get to that. But, the double-digit seed, this is basically it.
Yep.
And, I always feel like you get these like these itches when it gets tense, and you're like, oh God, this isn't going to go away. And then you're just whatever, just a catastrophe.
Yep.
I know how we get during games.
Yep.
So you had the ball. That's good.
Had the ball, and I got to tell you, my kid was awesome because he was calm. Like, he's just so zen and good. He's like, we're good. We're good. And then with 3.9,
Zen Charlie.
I don't think we're going to win. Thanks, buddy. Stand the fight. So that was our last thing. When we went to bed, I said, buddy, what did we learn tonight? And I'm sure he's like, I said, stand the fight. So anyway.
And I can't tell you that, like, the amount of texts I got at halftime where it's just like, are you sure about this Maryland team? Are you sure? I'm like, yeah. What? Do you watch basketball?
No, people clearly don't.
It's unbelievable what they're like. This is over. Here comes Cinderella. I'm like, then you don't watch Maryland. They don't like to make it easy a lot of times. I just thought if basketball God, whatever. What have we done? It was Sunday.
What have we done to you? At what point have we paid enough? Like, this season in particular. No. This is not how we're going out. No. And then they didn't. So.
Did I ever tell you the story? It was probably the most top 2 frightening moments of my life that had to do with the March Madness tournament.
I don't think so.
1990, Pops is still around. Diehard UConn guy. And Sweet 16, they make the run. UConn's the 1 seed. They're playing Eldon Campbell, Dale Davis. We all know the Tate George shot. Buzzer. You were there?
In the building.
Okay, because you were semi-Duke fan back then. I got it.
Shout to my guy, Al Abdelnabi.
Yeah.
Shout to my guy.
They win. Duke wins. They're going to play. It's on in the house. Like, not a word said for 2 days. Not a word. And I'm 13 at the time.
Young Steve.
Just typical wise ass. Tall, lanky, ugly braces. Just the worst. And so we watched the game together. There's not a word. And UConn, swaying back and forth. I want to say UConn was the 1, but Duke was probably favored just because it was them. It's in East Rutherford. You were there again. Come to find out.
Nadav Hennefeld.
Oh, God. That team. Rod Sellers. So
Burrell.
UConn scores. Chris Smith, Bridgeport, Connecticut, local, dad's favorite player. And he gets the old lean up on the chair, and there's a couple seconds left. And Leitner pulls the double pump from the side, didn't guard the inbounder, ball back to the inbounder. And I turned to my dad, and I said, you live by the buzzer, you die by the buzzer. And he gets up. I ran out the front door over to our basketball courts as fast as I could possibly run. I was the look in his eye he gave me. And I'll never forget it because it was one of the last times we watched the game together. But why the fuck I said that, I have no idea. But it was that it just rage. Like you get stuff like you want the worst thing in the world for your opponent a lot of times. But saying that to my dad was easily top 2 most feared moments of my life. I don't think I was just walking around. Like, I didn't come back. I missed dinner. I was just like, I went up to my room. I don't know if we talked till the next day, but I was like, I can't believe I just said that because that was that. But
young Steve, full of piss and vinegar.
Did they review to put time back on or no?
I thought they were going to, because it looked, I don't know, like at what point are we, it was 0.2, 0.10 as the ball's coming through. Like, I don't know what the threshold of where the ball needs to be in relation to the bucket for them to do that. But I don't know.
And watching it live, you had no issue like whether he got it off. You knew he got it off.
I knew he got it off. And again, I didn't think travel because like the way the game is played today, like it didn't even seem like a thing. And then everybody, he traveled. I know they got a game Thursday against Florida. That's what I know.
What are we doing? We going? Is the fam going? That's a perfect game for the fam to go to.
it's spring break for the kiddos. We are going to be in
San Francisco. Here we go.
Parts unknown. Got real concerns about being able to find the game. So I'm going to need to have the ability to be someplace else because wifey's a Gator, entire family are Gators. So if I'm going to, maybe just me and the little guy will go outside, see if we can find some good karma again. I don't know.
You'll be all right. What time? Yeah, you're still on East Coast. Oh, it's good.
40 minutes. 40 minutes. We got 40 minutes of time is what we got. I got a lot of notes, Steve.
Yeah. I have a billion. I'm trying to find the good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the headlines. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I want to go back to Saturday because that's when it started of these people. And I really want to just give Purdue credit because so many times they were in this instance where they were the prohibited favorite and they got. And we've seen it happen in the worst times. And Painter, I just think the world of. You hear his guys, heard an interview before the tournament with Braden Smith, just about how much he thinks of him, basketball historian, knows every detail possible. And to think about the losses that they've had, and here comes Big Bad McNeese and the manager that's getting all the hype. And so many times Purdue has failed in that spot, and they absolutely gave it to McNeese. And I get it. It was a nice story. Screw that. Purdue had demons, man. They had demons, and they came out and kicked the shit out of McNeese. And that McNeese team, I have never seen a team try and foul as much as they did. I can't believe, I think it was only 2 guys fouled out, but they just kept coming, trying to bully back Purdue, and Purdue had no worry. And it was really, really cool to see. Braden Smith was a badass in that game, and you saw how good he was. A lot of talk about him or Tanji Player of the Year. I thought he was fantastic because that's what you need your point guard against those kind of teams. And I just thought it was super, super impressive. And it was the first game to go to the Sweet 16, and no one's going to talk about it. But I really just because you and I had questions about their draw, what they
finished, how they finished,
and I'm also like. People are just, everyone, who they play? Everyone's picking High Point. I kept saying High Point hasn't played a quad 1 game in 2 years. Like, that group has never done it. Yeah. And I kind of like Purdue. And you were like, look at how they finished the year. Saw that. But it's a team that's not going to get talked about. And, again, they're up against it, just like Maryland. But I think it's an awesome – that win was so freaking impressive, man, because they kept trying to get bullied, and they dominated.
Yeah, but aren't they playing in Indianapolis? How's that for? Hey, Houston, here's your reward.
10:40 at night, I believe.
Yep, that's you're an hour away from Purdue's campus. I mean, what? That's what you get for being a 1 seed, to play in the state of Indiana against Boiler Up. Like, that's a lot, man. I know. And we both know Few well and have for years. I mean, know Kelvin. This benefit of this gig is getting a chance to get to know these dudes. Like, I felt like Gonzaga was really well positioned as a team who's been the one. They know what that is to carry that stress around.
Yeah.
And I thought they wouldn't be afraid. They weren't. But as it turned out, they had a chance late. I mean, it got close late. And then Houston's defense is Houston's defense. They just put the clamps on them. Don't even get a shot off down 3 late. So that sets up Houston, Purdue on that part of the bracket in the state of Tennessee. That's a 1 and a 4. That region's 1, 2, 3, 4. You got Kentucky and Tennessee on the bottom of that one. And I mean, the Kentucky Tennessee allows us to reference the 7 SEC teams. So half of the 14 make it to the Sweet 16. The other headline, obviously, is that it's all big conference teams, 4 from the Big 10, Big 12, the one ACC team. So there's a complete absence of Cinderella. Is that NIL and the teams that have the money going to the lower schools and just saying, come on up. Part of that, I think clearly is that.
Well, that was like the last thing we talked about, Scott. Walking out of the building Tuesday night when I was working, I said, I'm starting to think that for the upsets, we were talking about the high points, the McNeese's, whoever, the double-digit seeds that everybody was picking. I'm like, when I look at it and I watch them, I don't love it because of the portal. And those teams, on average, all their best players go to the Power Five. Like those, I was really curious about. I didn't think McNeese was better than they were last year. And then they get some guys, and they obviously stepped it up and just shocked the hell out of Clemson.
Well, Clemson just couldn't shoot the ball. I mean, they made it close late, but there's a lot of bad shooting. The basketball too bouncy? So everyone understands that apparently, except the NCAA. You want to make the ball like those
too
balls.
Orange too. I mean,
I don't care about the color, but you're going to make them like the State Fair basketballs where you got to make the shot to win the Panda, and the ball is like bounces off the back rim and goes to the moon. Let's take a little air out of the ball, fellas.
Yeah.
Anyway,
totally agree. I noticed that at the SEC women's tournament, they started using. I'm like, South Carolina's best players were dropping passes like crazy. I'm like, something's going on with this freaking ball, and they don't have a regulator. I was listening to, I think it was Titus, and then I talked to Stephen Ashford about it. He's just like, it's a catastrophe. Like, you can't shoot. No one gets shoot around. You get like 10 minutes or whatever shoot around on the rims. The rims are brand new. You hear how loud they are. I mean, the mics on it's just, we could be better. And the core, I don't know where games are.
I hate that.
It's brutal.
It's
brutal. And
so much of what was cool in the old days is you played Boise, and there's the Boise logo. And I get it. You and your corporate sponsors want it to feel like this uniform thing, but then it lacks charm. It lacks things that make it unique. You want to know, like, when you see the video however many years from now, I'll remember the Queen shot was in Seattle because I remember it, but I won't remember where McNeese played Clemson. Right now, for money, I couldn't tell you what venue it was. If there was a logo on the floor from that school, I would. And then there was, back in the day, George Mason was the host. George Mason was the host school when they played in the Capitol Center in Maryland. So it's in Maryland, a school from Virginia, but Mason's floor was on when like Curly and BC had a big upset. It's like literally, I remember it specifically.
Beat Carolina.
That's exactly right. On Mason's floor in the Cap Center. I just think you missed something with that. But whatever. No one's listening to us.
I could go on a million about these logistics of the term. Like, it's
the gist of what we get though now. It's chalk. In theory, you should have 8 really good basketball games Thursday and Friday.
Monster.
Shall we begin?
Yeah.
What do you want to go? What do you want to say before we start?
We got to talk about St. John's, Arkansas.
For sure. Well, that's part of how we get to.
Go ahead.
I'm not moving past how we got here.
We're moving.
Well, of course. Offense. I mean, there's a million things here. I mean, the highest seed remaining is the 10 seed from Arkansas. It's Calipari. He beats Pitino in a game that featured Steve how do I do this? For 41, or is it 41? 4 for 41 from 3. My God. Every fear you had about, can St. John shoot it well enough? I don't know. No. They couldn't survive a day where they just couldn't make baskets. And go ahead. What do you got on that day in that game?
No, I just thought the tension in that building, they did it to themselves. Coming in, they were the hot team, the Big East, the Garden, the city. We talked about it plenty. Pitino did every single interview possible. The drive up 95 out by Groton. Everybody was there. I mean, you saw Spike Lee in the first half at the McNeese Purdue game. I'm like, wow, St. John's is here. And, Arkansas, it also made me, feel like not a lot of people knew what Arkansas was, just knew they were terrible. 0-5, 1-6 in the conference. Boogie Flan didn't win a game in the conference. I thought he came back and he was tremendous. But again, Arkansas to not get bullied. And I mentioned last week Tom Crean talking about St. John's and what Pitino does. It's the last 8 minutes of the game, and you got to have your wherewithal. And then Calipari actually fast forward. He said it's the first 5 minutes out of the second half is where they come out and bully you. And Arkansas was so the way they got by guys. I haven't seen guys go by people on St. John's like that all year. And there's good guards in the Big East. So the way they stayed in it, and the officiating I thought was really, really interesting because you had a flagrant that I didn't know if it was, but the idea where they said, we're going to let you play, and both teams really respond to it. But the amount of layups that St. John's missed, I mean, good God. And then they missed 9 free throws. And I did Rosillo's pod last week, and he asked me, could St. John's win with a poor shooting? I was like, I look at the first weekend, I'm like, I think they could win a game if they make 2 threes. I really do, with what Arkansas and Kansas brought to the table. And you pointed out, combined, they go 4 for 41. But again, the way Arkansas, I didn't see that all year. I mean, it was super impressive to go to Kentucky for Cal's return, and that's where I was like, this team's got a little moxie to them. But Wagner and his ability to get by people for St. John's, I thought was just tremendous. And we haven't seen it. Like, he's a 5-star kid. We waited to see it at Kentucky, but he was awesome in the biggest spot, time after time, too, because St. John's kept coming, but Arkansas kept answering. I was super impressed with that win.
They lacked fear. And that's the thing about that league is that when you go through that gauntlet, and remember the night Cal, we had Bruce Pearl on after Auburn beat Arkansas in Auburn, loveliest village, and it was right after Bruce's team had lost to somebody, and I was like, so you guys lose a game, and now your easy game is against a Hall of Fame coach in Arkansas playing for their life. And he's like, I agree. And then Cal that night said, I told my guys, this is the NCAA tournament. Every game is the NCAA tournament. And you have so many opportunities in that league to win quad 1 games, but you also have opportunities to lose every game you play because that league's so loaded. And then
go back, Scott, to when you talked to Cal at MSG after he beat Michigan.
Yeah.
You asked him about the conference, and he just gave the huh.
Yeah.
He didn't even want to think about it because they weren't in it yet.
That was before they even started this gauntlet.
Correct.
But they've got dudes, and they're not going to be bullied by St. John's. And St. John's didn't shoot it. I thought they let them play, except what was it, Richmond's 5th foul, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
that's a tough spot for that to be a 5th. I didn't love it, but I mean, again, I don't want to be guilty of putting that magnifying glass on the one call on the one moment in a game where I thought Arkansas was the better team.
No doubt.
They deserve to win the game.
Answering every bell, which is when you see the underdogs kind of fault, was really, really awesome to see. It had to just be so cool for Calipari going back to in that building and in that area. I was really, really impressed. And they, the Woo Pig and the whole thing, like, it's an awesome fan base. And they absolutely ripped my heart out in 1994 with Scotty Thurman. So I think the world of that fan base. And they, what is it? Maryland, Florida, Arkansas, and Texas Tech are in San Francisco.
They are. Long way from home. Long way from home. But the Patino, Cal stuff, the history, the proximity, and yet the distance, it's it's a lot that's interesting that you can't avoid. And for Cal and this, he admitted it. Like, look, it's been a rough go in Kentucky these last couple of years. They've got all the resources. They got all these 5-stars. They didn't have success. First year in Arkansas, looks like he's going to miss the tournament. Now they're playing the second weekend against the Texas Tech team that took Drake, who took out Missouri. And they managed to do to Drake the hardest thing, which is they took Drake out of doing what Drake wants to be and wants to do. Hard to do that. And all credit to McCaslin's team and Texas Tech. Tough as nails. That sets up a hell of a game there on the bottom of that bracket. McCollum, by the way, going to Iowa from Drake. I think everybody kind of connected the dots on that one. But Drake had a hell of a year. Had the one win. Tech was just better. So you get Tech and Arkansas, and then you get Maryland against Florida at the top. We covered Maryland. The Florida game against UConn, I thought was just incredible theater. All I could think of the entire time I'm watching is Rudy Tomjanovich, the line, never underestimate the heart of a champion.
No doubt.
You saw it. You saw Hurley's antics. He's manic. You saw him walking off the court saying, I hope they don't F you, Baylor, like they did. I mean, but then you saw him in a moment of just honesty where he's like, look, we've got so much success and it messes with your ego and it messes with everything. And now I could try to just get back to just try to be a coach and get out of the mix. I don't want to throw out first pitches. That's reserved for championship winners. We didn't win. And then he was honest. He's like, I don't think there were times I didn't like this team, but I don't think I'll ever love a team more because they figured it out. And they pushed a really good team to the absolute brink. And I admired the fact that Florida had it in them to make shots, knock it down. You knew Conda's not a good free throw shooter. They made a couple of great plays off misses that turned into not just the one for the free throw, but turned into a dunk and a three, which is really, in many ways, why the game was won for Florida, because they couldn't finish off, make your fouls. They couldn't. I guess don't make your fouls if you can get the rebound and make it two. But I was mesmerized by what that game showed us from both sides.
No doubt. 5 minutes into the game, I really thought UConn was going to win.
You tweeted it.
They got any shot they wanted, and I couldn't believe how much trouble Florida had at the rim. They couldn't put the ball in the basket.
It's because it's too bouncy, Steve. Too much air in the ball.
Listen, the amount of guys I've seen this last 4 days go full speed and miss layups is unbelievable to me. So something's up for sure. No, but I thought Hurley was absolutely masterful in the offense they ran, realizing you knew right off the get to, and then he said it in his first time out. He's like, we have to make threes to win this game. And that's what I was wondering, would they go inside? Would they try? They kept shooting. They couldn't buy one early, but they stayed with it. They obviously run great sets. I thought Diarra was really good taking care of the ball. They were awesome when Florida tried to set up the 3/4 court press. They get an open three and Ball hits it. I think when the game was tied to go back up three.
I know he hit one to. I know he hit one to tie it. I don't remember if he put him ahead three.
Yeah, the one in the corner was enormous, and it was off the press breaker. So I look at Florida, and you look at the waves of guys that come at you, and I thought Hurley was great in rotating his bigs based on foul trouble, just riding the guy for a little bit longer than normally a coach does. So again, the winner was Florida. The different guys they could throw. I thought Aberdeen made a huge shot at one point. He's a kid that could be a top 5 point guard in the country on any other team. But Clayton, man, good Lord, did he say, give me the ball. Those threes, when he's kind of going off 1 foot, I mean, they were no rim, just cookies.
He has a rare ability to shoot off balance shots where somehow he still ends up square and on balance. I don't know how he does it. Like he looks off balance, but then magically is on. Is you know what I'm saying? Like that one up 3 late that put him up 6 was like, that's just such a big time bucket. Big. And he wasn't great in the first half, but he was tremendous in the second half. That's the thing about I mean, I could joke about like our household in the Florida, Maryland, like you watch them play, and we'll get to Duke at some point, but like you watch that game and you tweeted out UConn's going to win. That's a 2-time back-to-back champion that's won 13 games. I know not all the people that won those games are on the floor yesterday.
I don't care.
The juice, the DNA of being a championship team is on the floor, and they made it hard, and it wasn't enough to beat them. That's the thing that you're like, shit. What do you got to do to beat that team?
Yeah,
because UConn did many of the things that you'd need to do, maybe most of them, and it still didn't beat them. That was impressive as hell to me.
The Hurley idea, like the UConn fans take the post-game press conference where you're talking about all the honest quotes and his love for his team, but you cannot not acknowledge what he did walking off the court.
Or he said the thing about the officials.
Yeah, like UConn fans just go right to always I'm like, there's 2 sides here, and you have to acknowledge that it's not he doesn't do the right thing a lot of times, and I get it. He wants to win as bad as anybody, but this idea where it's fine and that's who he is, and you can't not acknowledge that. If that makes sense. Like, you got to take the good with the bad. And you've had an unbelievable run. And that cover streak is still alive. I mean, there was a point, too, where I didn't think UConn was even going to cover. I think they got the ball at 8. They were down 8 late, and they needed a hoop and got it. But
that would have been a bad beat.
Oh, my God. But this idea where, you get this sense of you're invincible because you just steamrolled to 2 titles. You got to take the good with the bad. And I thought it was really humbling for some Big East folks with St. John's and UConn not being a part of the Sweet 16. But that's reality, man. St. John's had an unbelievable run this year. And you got it, a couple days after, you take a deep breath and say it's a successful season. And then UConn, you come to the face. You're not in the Sweet 16. And that's life. It's not all what the last 2 years was. And you gave it all you had. Those guys should be super proud of what they did and going toe-to-toe with a team that I didn't think and not at least in the first 2 weekends. And they were right there. And the depth of Florida is really, really something that showed up. And
backcourt and frontcourt. That's the thing. They got so many dudes they're massive at the rim, man. And there are like 4 or 5 guys that they just bring in. Whatever. There are a lot to deal with. You're dead on as it relates to Hurley. He's the whole game. He's complaining the whole game, and he's doing the antics on the sidelines because that's what he does. And walking off the floor, like he says what he says, and everyone heard it, And look, you grew up there. I lived there for a big chunk of time. Like, UConn basketball is a big part of the identity of that whole state. And you should feel pride in what they've been. But you're right, Steve. Like, you got to acknowledge those things he says and does, and it's part of it. And they honor themselves with the way they compete. You don't honor yourself with that stuff, those things you say. And you're right, UConn folks, and I was guilty of it. Like, I fast forward to the thoughtful part about Hurley that I really like. And I really admire that he's vulnerable and he's flawed and he shares all that. But if you say things, you're just being an asshole, then you're just being an asshole.
Yeah.
And you could be both those things, maybe later you admit to that, like that's part you just wish you weren't or whatever, but it all happens, and you just acknowledge the great, and you got to acknowledge the part that you're like, well, that's, you don't honor yourself with that.
And that's the thing I always tell them. They love dishing it out. But you got to be able to take it, man.
The whole Big East, man. The whole Big East,
exactly.
Marquette had a run. They're sent home.
It's a deal.
Creighton played hard against Auburn. Not enough. St. John's, great year. Out in the round of 32, and UConn as well. If we talk this long on each region, it's going to take us 9 hours. But I
didn't do another thing this weekend, so
I understand. Auburn, Michigan, Ole Miss, Michigan State, the path there in that part of the region. I just mentioned Creighton. I love Kalkbrenner and that team. Like Ashworth, those guys have been around. That's a tough team, and they hung for a while, but that Auburn team's just sort of like, all right, you're going to need to do it for 40. They ask a lot. I just think, like I talk about Juju, like there aren't going to be many 4-year guys. Kalkbrenner was the same kind of deal, like a program guy. Couldn't ask more from him, but you just come up against a team that's got more than you do. And that's the end of the line.
Yeah, and I also think about McDermott, man. Like he's had pros, he's had awesome teams,
and he's had chances to leave too.
Yeah, and then you watch him take his guys out, and those embraces were freaking strong, man.
No doubt.
And you saw, everybody in the Big East doesn't like going out to Omaha to play them, and why? It's a really cool. It's pure Midwest. If you ever been there, and it's a real deal, and they just haven't been able to get over the hump, and obviously the odds were stuck against them. But I look at what they were at the beginning of the year and all the losses they suffered, but they did go out and play good teams, and they go on I think it was a 10 or 12 game unbeaten streak in Big East play. That was super impressive, and Just always a treat to watch. I love his offense. He's always got guys that can score. And I go back. I mean, you beat UConn and MSG. You come back the next night and you play 30 good ones against St. John's. And then you see the bracket. I mean, nobody really had them beating Louisville because it was in Lexington and they gave them a dose. So Creighton was great. What? I don't know what to say anymore about Michigan. I don't know. Like, it's the way. I mean, that's a haymaker game against A&M. You know you're going to get wild. There's going to be rebounds. There's going to be and ones. There's going to be guys flying over your chest. But Michigan stayed in a fight, and I still don't know how the hell Donaldson made that shot. I have no idea. He didn't even see the hoop. And it went in with his left hand. But Dusty, man, I just keep going back to Dusty. And look at that FAU team. That FAU team had him and Golden. They're in Sweet 16.
Nelly.
You got Nelly at Arkansas Sweet 16, and Elijah at Florida was the key to the game yesterday for people's best team. So hats off to Dusty and what he's done, man. Like that they lost 24 games last year.
Yep.
24 games.
And they win close games. I mean, there's
amazing.
When it comes to like predictive metrics, you know, you think, well, you can't keep doing that. And you wouldn't want to make your living that way, but there's also something to be said for when it's close, our guys just don't blink and believe they're going to win, and then they're largely right. Look, they had to survive UCSD, who had a shot in the air. Like, they missed so many threes that first game. That was a very popular upset pick. They were only like a 2-point dog as a 12 seed, and they ended up actually taking the lead late in the second half. But Michigan survives that one. They were down 10 to Buzz's team from A&M, and A&M's another one of those teams a little bit like St. John's, where they're tough as nails, don't always shoot it great. You referenced the stat months ago, which is maybe why A&M wasn't on your list that could win a title, but they offensive rebounds awesome, but part of that's because they missed so many times. But credit to Michigan for surviving that, and now you get a Michigan team that's got the size up front to deal with Auburn.
Awesome matchup.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, one of many. How about Chris Beard's team? How about everyone went from North Carolina shouldn't be in. I was right there. Then they beat the absolute snot out of San Diego State, and then everyone was like, Carolina's going to go on a run, or they're not going to beat Ole Miss. And people just dismissed Ole Miss. They beat them up handily, end up having to hang on for dear life. And then they beat an Iowa State team that, we always talk toughness and whatever else. Ole Miss played from ahead that entire game.
Yeah, both games.
Correct. They were
awesome.
You talk about who's been the most impressive team, and I think it's easy to go like, wow, Duke, holy crap, their ceiling looks really high, because it is. But if you've had two mostly stress-free games, and I get it, it got tense in the end against Carolina, but largely, like for the bulk of the 40 minutes, you played from in control. That's hard to do for a program that's, under Beard trying to make itself fit in that neighborhood full of these SEC heavyweights. I thought they were awfully impressive, and now you get a chance to back it up against a Michigan State team that, New Mexico battled, but Michigan State's just really they're just hard to put away, because some people are willing to fight, then there's teams that want to fight. It's a big difference. And Michigan State's built for it. Like, oh, you want to do this? Awesome. Hit me in the face. I want to bleed, and then I can really go. So that's.
Can you imagine if we get a rematch of the logo to go to the Final Four, Michigan State? That would be nuts.
I mean, State beat them twice, and I mean,
where was that? That would be in Atlanta. Wow, that would be nuts.
One will be favored to get there. The other will be a pretty big dog. But I mean, I just don't want to. I don't want to just dismiss Beard and Ole Miss, because they played excellent for 80 minutes,
and everybody has their thoughts on them. I know you and I think the world of them as a coach within the game, and you talk to people about how specific he gets with what guards do and how they attack you. But it's a credit to that coaching staff, because again, to your point, never do you play two games as a 6 seed. Never do you play two games where you play from the lead the whole game. to go to the Sweet 16. And it was a team that really I thought was super overlooked. I know I did. Because
I did too.
They didn't have really their size wasn't a factor. That's why I like the matchup for Carolina. But they made shots. Purdue has been unbelievable. You want to talk about transfer gets? That kid's made big shot after big shot. So I believe he's that Virginia Tech. Yeah, it was the last. He beat K in the ACC tournament. Going back to show you how long guys have been around. But no, Ole Miss I mean, that you want to get a fan base going and get those people going. They're all in right now. They're in Atlanta. Oh gosh, they're in Atlanta. Auburn and Ole Miss in Atlanta.
Are you ready?
Get a lot of ice.
Is it just the Duke Invitational, Steve? I mean, you're the resident Duke fan. No.
They made 58% threes.
Proctor, the light came on for him in the ACC tournament.
Yeah,
and
in the ACC final because he was
against Louisville.
He was bad. Right? Yeah, he's been on a run here. But no, they played to their max. I thought they really, it really shows because there's a fearlessness to them where Baylor, was hanging around for a bit, and it was like, all right, let's keep going. Like they go through their substitutions, and then they get their 5 back on the floor, and it goes from 31-24 to 47-30 to end the half, with just an incredible run. I really love seeing Cooper shoot the 3 off the bounce. I mean, we haven't seen that all year, and if that goes in,
forget it.
Yeah, it's if I don't care who you are. These teams are manning. You shoot 58% from 3, you're winning.
Of course,
and that's the thing you have to be able to withstand. And then you got the whatever you want to say, Freddy Krueger, Jason, any scary movie character that's still always lurking. Here comes Caleb Love, man. Caleb Love is I saw it a million miles away when the bracket came out, and they got it in Newark. So I know Arizona fans want a rematch. They're still pissed about a call in the 2001 final. So Arizona Duke played a super low. I can't remember if it was before or after the loss against Kansas, but they went out and played at Tucson. Super low scoring game. Arizona didn't know what their rotation was. 2 totally different teams. It'll be a way higher level game because of the guard play. Arizona's guards are just tremendous. And then, everybody probably went to bed, but they held on for dear life against Oregon last night.
I didn't go to bed. I just I thought
you were still. Did you pop a bottle maybe last night after that win? Get a little loose. You needed something to take.
Team trying to put me in the dirt, man. Love, how many Love have last night? I don't look. 20 something.
I mean, big the dunk. Oh,
it's just pretty funny that sometimes
29.
Yeah, 10 of 18 and 29.
That's it, man. It's scary.
And the fact that he's the guy that they have to deal with in the Sweet 16 is kind of funny. I just want to say that Tommy Lloyd, I thought, was tremendous in the end game. The moments get big. They did everything exactly right to make sure that they could put Oregon away.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it's Love, and we know that what he was responsible for in K's last year and the win in the Cameron and then the win in New Orleans, it's just kind of wild that the path intersects now wearing different colors. The bottom of that bracket.
Cool, baby.
Look, you and I again, here we are giving ourselves medals for just watching basketball and being able to recognize BYU is real good. Feel like
so is Wisconsin.
I agree. That's the one thing that in retrospect, BYU is excellent. Love the way they play. But for Wisconsin to be a 3 that played in the last game that was being played on a Sunday, having to go to altitude and play on a Thursday and a Saturday against a team that's a hell of a lot closer, that's just a terrible 6 seed to have to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. It's hard to make it equitable. I mean, Ole Miss is a 6. They played really well as well. It just seemed like there was some advantages. Like the same thing I said about like should Purdue that's a 4 be able to play Indianapolis against Houston? That doesn't seem right to get ahead of that one. That game we know is happening. I didn't know for sure BYU and Wisconsin would play, but BYU had a big lead as it is. Tanjay has the ball late with a chance. I mean, I think he was playing for contact, and
Mag, straight up.
Wyatt did an awesome job being physical but not fouling, and no call because there shouldn't have been, I don't think. And I just, for my guy Andy North, for our buddy,
he was right there too. You saw him a million times.
For our buddy Big Cat, for anybody that are Scotty folks, man, that's a gutting loss against a BYU team that could absolutely beat Bama. They could absolutely beat them.
No doubt. I said going into that's why everybody, said Duke had a cakewalk. When I do my list, that region had the most teams that can win the title. I had 5 teams that can win a national title in that bracket. 4 of them are left. Wisconsin was the other team. I loved what Kevin Young did late in that game where Wisconsin starts coming back. There was 2 instances where his guys are dribbling, 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Timeout. Let's draw something up. I got these timeouts.
You saw him get up from the bench with a whiteboard out. He was already. I'm so glad you mentioned that because I watched the exact same thing and I thought, look at that dude. He's like, nope, we're not going to get what I want.
And the first time he gets Richie Anderson to go to the hoop, he gets fouled. They get 2 free throws, and another one they got a shot and they missed it. But I just time and time again when it's that hot of a situation and you have a chance to make a difference. He did. I've seen too many. It drives me crazy. Because I always, looking at the play clock late in the game in football, if you don't have your guys lined up, you gotta call timeout. And I know everybody wants to save them, but use them to your advantage. And I just thought it was genius. Listen, they can make their shot makers are all over the place. Their athleticism, their bigs. I cannot. That's my favorite game of this round coming up because Alabama, I thought you got a dose of it in waves. I've said all year, I still don't know who their best 5 is, but their bigs are going to have to play against BYU because they got some too. So that's it. That game is awesome.
What I love about it is that we've talked for a couple years about how Bama is. They're a blast to watch because they're going to play how they play. They're going to run. They're going to shoot threes quick in shot clocks. And if they're up by 15 or they're down by 15, they don't care because they're going to keep playing the same way. BYU is the exact same way. They play fast. They're going to take threes. And I think of the game at Iowa State. You got to like Hilton Magic. And then BYU was like, yeah, how about we're ahead by like 20? I'm like, holy crap, they're going to beat them to death. No, Hilton Magic happened, and they ended up having to hang on for dear life. Same kind of deal with Wisconsin because they sometimes they can get a little loose. Same with Alabama. Worst mistake I can make talking about Alabama, but Auburn similar. Alabama, they're going to play fast. They're going to shoot. They're going to turn it over. So's BYU. Like that feels like whoever gets hot and stays hot can win. But I think it wouldn't shock me if both teams had double-digit leads in that game. Bama just they were able to put St. Mary's away. St. Mary's picked a terrible time of the year to just completely go cold from 3. They were awful in the final against Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference. And they couldn't make shots from deep. And they survived and were able to pull one out against Vandy. But you've got to be able to keep hanging buckets to hang around with Bama, and St. Mary's couldn't. So that sets up BYU, Bama in that bracket. And Kentucky, Tennessee, I mentioned that. Kentucky was an underdog against Illinois.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand that for the life of me. I get
that Illinois' ceiling was like when they played well, they were really good, but there was way too many instances where they weren't for me to understand how the 3 was catching points from Illinois. As it turned out, it was wrong team was favored. And so Mark Pope in his first year in Kentucky gets another shot at Tennessee, and Tennessee was able to do what they do against UCLA. They have like, you know what I feel like Barnes and his team are great at? They can be I don't know what the word is. Not ordinary. Just they can look
Stagnant.
that uneven, uninspiring, and then they can have a great under 16 to under 12, under 12 to under 8. They can have a great section, one chunk of time where they land the punch that not puts you out for the rest of the game. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I feel like that team is they're tough-minded. They're not the same kind of Auburn, Alabama, high-flying, big numbers kind of team. They're more in the Michigan State mold. I don't know. I think that Kentucky-Tennessee game is a blast, and potentially like Houston-Tennessee feels like if they play, I mean, first
I
to
said
60,
good luck being official. I asked you last week if you want to ref that game.
First to 60, maybe first to 54. Could be like
it's going to be like the Houston-Villanova game a couple years ago to the Final Four. 50-48, I believe it was.
Might be.
And that's what I've said about Tennessee, though, all year. Different. They're different than any other Tennessee team because they make shots. Lanier was fantastic against UCLA, built a big lead. Mick coaching to the end is just incredible to get that game close. I believe Kentucky beat Tennessee twice this year. So, take what you want. Where that game is going to be that's in Indy? Yeah.
Yep.
So Tennessee, kind of under the radar with how they handled business, but I absolutely love that team. I picked them to go to the Final Four when the bracket came out. So, the matchups are awesome. Awesome stuff.
They do have Zakai. But I think, hold on, I'm just looking. I'm trying to find some numbers here as we talk. They also have Chaz Lanier, who's a
That's what
giant.
I'm saying. He was unreal against UCLA.
You know what he does so well is catch and shoot in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like Clay.
When his feet are set, it just looks clean.
Yeah, like I always think of Clay being like the fast release guy. Different, but the release is quick, and that's I don't know how guys do that. I don't know how guys get it off that quick with the kind of rotation and whatever that the Golden's got. I don't know. So go ahead.
Butler for Kentucky's the world of difference. We talked about that FAU team. He's the guy that made the shot in the Final Four to beat that FAU team and go to the final. But they're totally different. He's able to stop the ball. When he was hurt and injured, he's dealing with the shoulder. He's wearing the harness. But he's spectacular with the ball. They really need him. And then Bria is another guy. I'm like, good Lord, if he shoots it, you think it's going in every single time. So that's awesome.
Best shooter in America. Best shooter in America.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't know. Like Florida's got a couple dudes hit every time the ball goes up. I'm like,
looks really good.
And then it's
Clayton lost 50 pounds playing for Pitino at Iona. They told that story.
He was a chubby guy.
Then he offered him $1,100.
When I heard that $1,100 story, you just picture Pitino like patting at his front pocket, his back.
This is what I got.
Certain people just carry cash.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not talking about like a mobster guy with the rubber band, right? Where it's a big wad of 20s and 100s. Like I'm talking about like certain people. I'm not a carry a ton of cash guy, although I tend to have more than some. Like we've reached a point where it's like people look at you if you pull out money in a store. Like do you accept this? Are you familiar with the? I don't even know what that is or how you use it. It's 100. Could you? No. Pitino strikes me as a guy who might just have 1100 in the left pocket on a standard Tuesday morning.
Correct.
That was not enough to keep him from hitting the portal and hitting the road. How about the fact that the portal opens up in the middle of the tournament? I saw J.J. Watt had a tweet, and it was spot on. He said, imagine if free agency in the NFL started after the wild card weekend. It's nonsense. And the same thing happens in football. It's so dumb that right now, this week, you got the portal. And teams are still in the mix. It's Figure
I
it
just wish
out.
they would move it to May when everybody's out of school, and these guys that the first sign of adversity just pick up and transfer, that they have to stick it out till May and go to school and stay eligible. That's why I was just like, stick it to them a little bit. Don't let them just be able to pick up and leave right away. But in May, no one's doing anything.
It's not even stick it to them. It's just deal with real life.
Yeah.
Deal with a little bit of real life.
Little bit.
As you said, at the first sign of a bump in the road, you can't just hit the off ramp and go to the smoother, better option, which may or may not turn out to be a better option. I mean, we see a lot of that. How much did that guy get? Did he even play for that team? But it is wild, like how many guys you reference. Oh, remember this guy was for that team. All the FAU people. It's just amazing how significant the roles are that these guys have for teams that are still playing. I don't know. It feels chalky. I just think we'll see a far more competitive games along the lines that, remember that last week when we talked about that one Thursday when we were watching conference tournament games, those Thursday, Friday games? That's what basically all these games feel like. It feels like the late in the week games, even if you're a 5 like Michigan, you're in the same weight class as Auburn, you know? Maryland with Florida. Florida's favored. They should be. But, it's not like you're a team, I don't know, pick a team like we saw this weekend that if you're Bryant, they competed for a while, and Martelli's quotes were awesome about his family. God, they were great.
Martelli.
But it was just really cool about his family and what they sign up for, and I just admired the honesty. The Mount St. Mary's coach I thought was awesome. He was a kid and he's in tears talking about that this has been the best time of my life. That's part of the tournament. But those teams, these are the best teams that they've faced all year. Like, Maryland's not the best team Florida's played. I get it. But at least Maryland's seen somebody like Florida. You've played good teams. Michigan seen people like Auburn. Arizona's seen teams like Duke. It's going to take your best 40. But winning a title is supposed to be difficult. Anything worth having is on the other side of something difficult. I've said it a million times. So it's like winning the first 2-game tournament. Now you exhale and you get 48 hours of basking in you have another game. And then the 24-hour window of all right, shit, how are we going to win this game? That starts to set in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you play Friday, this is how psychotic I am. Yesterday, I loved the fact that the Maryland game was late because I got to enjoy the day without being stressed. And then we're at dinner, and it's 7:05, and I just look at wifey, and she's like, "Do you have to go?" I'm like, "I do."
Bye.
I assumed that the check was sorted out. I had to go because
she could pick up one once in a while.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm happy to watch a game in February against Iowa or Minnesota on a delay. I could just not look at my phone and I'll get caught up. I don't want to be watching a game that I'm an hour behind real time in the tournament. I need to be current with what's happening. So, Dad, and by the way, Mom, who's with me, she's as big a Terp fan as me. She's like, "We're leaving." And we did. we split. We
Seniority on this one, honey.
Well, we're good. Hey, listen, they got the brownie the size of their heads for dessert. I'm sure they were fine. I'm sure they're we'll see the game when we get home. Dad's a little bit psychotic. Why does Dad have that ball? No one knows. So
there it is.
That's what we got. I don't know if something else big could have happened. I missed it. I don't know.
Like I said, all I care is about is the tournament. We kind of went long, so I don't want to.
Duke Invitational.
Stop. Oh, I know it. Did you see any of Wyatt Hendrickson?
From?
The Oklahoma State wrestler.
Oh, is that the guy that does the head stands?
He beat Gable Steveson Gable Steveson's an Olympian champion.
Oh no! So the guy that won was from Ohio State, I thought.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Oklahoma State.
I think it was Ohio.
This was the heavyweight. This was the heavyweights.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure I get it right. Go ahead.
That's on ESPN. I let Lily stay up to watch LSU at 10:15 Saturday night. We were leaving Sunday morning. She could sleep in the car on the way home. She had nothing. But that's what was on. So I'm watching this wrestling match, and the place is going crazy. Crazy. This guy Steveson went to WWE. I guess
Oklahoma State. I apologize. Yeah. I knew it was an O State, so I don't want the folks at Stillwater pissed at me. Correction.
No.
Oklahoma State, and the guy that he beats is this Olympian monster.
Scott, I can't tell you the emotion in this building. And here I am with Lily. She's 11. We're late. I pulled out the couch in our room to watch it so she could just roll over and go to bed. And she's like, "Where's the game?" Well, LSU was following that. And I'm like, "Oh, man." And then he wins. And it's, like I said, his dad, you got to watch the video of his dad. It's unbelievable. He's literally hunched over the stanchion like he can't move. And then they keep the camera on him. And then he's wearing glasses. He finally loses it. And he can't get it together. It was so emotional. But I'm like, they're never going to get to this LSU game because this theater right now is unbelievable. But I just wanted to give a shout. I know how much that wrestling fraternity is deal. That's you want to talk mano a mano. But it was absolutely incredible, the emotion. And I'm just sitting there at 10:15, 10:20. I'm like, can we please we just got to get the first quarter in here with LSU.
And again, Oklahoma State, my apologies, but President Trump is there. And
it was unbelievable, man.
He's in the Air Force. I'm doing some reading now about this guy. So, I mean, it's just,
get a chance to watch it.
Well, I mean, Red's on the alert. Red's on alert. High alert.
Good luck to that person.
You know what? He sounds like he might hurt you, and I don't think that he would. Certainly not the little guy who's just walked in. He's good, but I don't know that you'd want to find out if you're, meant to do somebody no good.
How many frozen fruit drinks for the kids?
One a day.
Oh, we're down to one.
If you behave. Make good choices, Steve. Make good choices. Got to make good choices. You don't make good choices, it's a powerful motivator because that can be taken away. Although, as I see middle guy walk in, his lips are blue. What'd you eat, Sam? You had a shaved ice? I beg your pardon. Cone. Apparently, we're up to 2 frozen drinks a day.
Have you laid eyes on the scooter?
Haven't got on the scooter yet. Right. I see it
Staring
there.
At you.
I see it there. I drive by the place where I wreck every day, and I look at it, and I'm like, that hurt a lot, man. I mean, that hurt a lot. Laid that scooter down right in the middle of the street in flip-flops and a bathing suit. And we got to work tonight. We got TGL tonight and tomorrow. So I'm gonna be heading up to see you tonight for some work. But
we're here, man.
I don't know. I don't know when, but sometime between now and when we head out of here, I need to get on that scooter, even if I just take it down at the end of the block. I think it's like getting back on the horse. I think it's like a bronco that, like a rodeo guy that gets bucked off by a bull. You need to just get back on old Diablo.
Ask Mom; she'll have some advice for you about the scooter.
Right now, as I'm saying this, wifey's just looking at me, shaking her head, and going, "No, do not get on the scooter."
Wifey doesn't cuss, but were there any cuss words out during the Florida game?
She didn't cuss. We were in public. We were watching it in a public place, which is something I could never do.
No.
But she was way more like me. I left the premises, went outside, and I'm rocking back and forth like Rain Man with a ball. Like she was able to watch the Gator UConn game and it got. I will say this: it got quite loud. It got quite loud in the last couple of minutes when those buckets went in. Spirited Gator cheering, and there were other Gators in the vicinity. So there was.
They're everywhere now.
There was some loud fast claps.
There we go.
I think I taught my son the value of the good luck mute. Because I've always turned off I've always turned off the sound when I want to change up the mojo in any game. And he's like, can I hear the noise, Dad? I was like, no, good luck, mute. He looks at me like something's wrong with me. Because there is. Because there is. My dad's got a ball, and he's got it on mute.
And he's shaking and rocking. Like Leo Mazzoni.
Like Mazzoni. Work the zone, change speeds. Whoops.
You're muted.
Am I on again?
There you go.
The process of getting this together might have cursed. Was there cussing trying to get this thing to work? I can't hear myself, but you can hear me and the people can hear me. And it's time to shut this thing down. But thanks to our friends from Podville who helped me somehow get this thing done. Shout out to the 16 teams still going and the people that made it. And, you made it to the dance. So,
yeah.
I hope you dance.
One quick one on the way out. We know there's if Terp fans are looking for a place to watch the game in D.C., there's no better place to watch the game and Maryland than at Fat Pete's.
Okay.
Fat Pete's. Go to Fat Pete's Thursday night for the game.
All right, there you go. From Stanford Steve's lips to your ears. Fat Pete's for the game.
And just tell your first beer Ed Kubek's paying for. Just say
put it on
Ed Kubek. Put it on Ed Kubek's tab.
Mr. Kubek. Some people say Kobek. Mr. Kobek's tab. Kubek,
Ed.
Kobek.
Yeah.
They know.
They know who he is.
All right. That'll do it. We'll see you from TGL
Live.
Monday and Tuesday. And then
it's time to buckle up.
Parts unknown.
Buckle up.
All right, big boy. I'll see you tonight. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week. It's SVPod.